This is our segment, Reset the Clock. Like I said, we're not going to do this every week, I don't think. But we liked it so much last week. Talking about Tom Brady. And if he had been drafted by the Browns in the year 2000, what would have happened? And so the premise for this segment today, this week, is what if Gretzky stays in Edmonton? What if the great one, number 99, does not get traded to the LA Kings? So what do you think, Tim?
Interesting. Excuse me. One thought, just kind of randomly right off the bat, does his number get retired in the whole league? Because Gordie Howe was his predecessor who had like all the records, the scoring records.
Mr. Hockey?
Mr. Hockey. Number 9 was not retired league-wide when he retired. But he only played for Detroit and briefly Hartford. Right?
I think the Houston Aeros at some point.
Or maybe, yeah. I mean, I know,
yeah,
I know his NHL was basically between those two teams.
Right.
So if he stays in Edmonton his whole career, is 99 just retired in Edmonton? Or do they retire it league-wide? Because Gretzky ends up playing for 4 teams. Because he played for Edmonton, LA, St. Louis, and New York Rangers.
Very interesting. Never thought about that.
So then that opens up like a number that, you know, kids could wear in every city. But and that's not a major issue.
You know what's funny is, like, even in beer league, it is so frowned upon. You will get the shit chirped out of you for wearing 99 in beer league, because it's like such, I think one of them is like, it's such a unique number. Like very few other players even ever wore it, period.
I think he might have been the only one to ever wear it.
No, let's
see. To have any success. I mean,
I'm looking this up. Behind the sweater numbers, number 99. Okay. There have been a number of players that have worn the 99. Oh, let's go to the AI overview. That's always helpful.
Oh, yeah.
The first to wear it was in the 1934-35 season for the Montreal Canadiens, Joe Lamb. I'm surprised he was allowed to.
I was going to say they had 99 back then. Because that was back when it was mostly like you wore 1 through 20 or whatever.
Right.
But, you know, and it was like the goalie wore 1 and then everybody else got 2 through 20.
And it was like, that's why you still see defensemen typically wear like 2 through 8.
Yeah.
And then you see forwards wear like, 9 through whatever. And so that was like a thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, and that may be probably the biggest reason Gordie Howe's number wasn't retired, because it's number 9. Like it's such a common, every team in the league had a number 9.
That's true.
But that's really interesting. Very, very interesting. I think you're probably right. It probably does not get retired league wide if he only plays in Edmonton, if he finishes his career in Edmonton.
Yeah. And just a brief aside. So Gretzky was interviewed in a feature interview in April's issue of Cigar Aficionado.
Cigar Aficionado, sponsor Foster.
I mean, yeah, if you guys want to sponsor, I'll start smoking cigars on the channel. Marvin. Anyway, but in the interview, it's kind of funny because they talked to him about his nickname, the Great One, and that actually started when he was 10, apparently. And his dad hated it. Like his dad tried to not get that to be a thing, but it just stuck. He talks about the Edmonton trade, and he said that the fans felt blindsided, but he kind of knew that it was coming because he had actually gone to the owners and said, like, hey, I'm salary capping the team, basically. Like, you guys are going to be paying me way more than, like, you can't afford to pay anybody else, basically.
Right.
And so that was the impetus for the trade. And he basically, like, they told him, give us a list of teams you'd like to go to. And so he had it down to LA, the Rangers, Detroit.
Yep.
And
because he grew up a Gordie Howe fan.
Yeah, he grew up a Gordie Howe fan.
And he wanted to play for Detroit. Yeah.
He did.
Very interesting.
Do you know why he didn't?
No, I don't know. I've heard it before, but go ahead, tell me.
I hadn't heard it before, and I remember reading his biography back in the early 2000s or late 90s, whenever. But his dad was talking to him and said, Gordie had Detroit. Why don't you go and do your own thing?
Yep.
And so, because he really did want to come play in Detroit.
Man.
So basically his dad talked him out of going to Detroit. How could that, that would have been.
Just imagining Gretzky and Yzerman as your 1 and 2 centers. There's no, like, Detroit would have won like 10 cups in that decade. Like, there's no way we would have been stopped. That's insane.
But why didn't the Kings win more?
You raise a good point.
I mean, that Gretzky is kind of proof that you can't just have one guy on a team. Because even when he went to the Blues, the Blues weren't that great. Like, he was still scoring goals. He was still getting assists. But I don't know how the other players didn't raise their level of play with him on the team. They didn't.
Well, and even the Blues were stacked that year too. That's why they traded for him.
Yeah, they were going to
win a cup. Because it was like Brett Hull, Al McInnes, I want to say. Like, there were some major players on that Blues team who got ousted in the second round by a slap shot by Steve Yzerman. Just go ahead and throw that. My Yzerman sweater koozie there.
Knit that yourself,
No, my friend Marcus crocheted this for me.
Okay.
It was a special.
Sorry, crochet, wrong.
It was awesome.
Wrong work.
Wrong sport. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's interesting to think because that was one of the things. That was like the first thing I thought of was Gretzky never wins another cup. Like, he wins his 4 in Edmonton.
Yeah.
He doesn't win another cup.
Yeah.
Edmonton wins one like what in 1990 they won, and the trade was before the 89 season.
Yeah.
So it was only like one season, the second season that he was gone, they won another cup with Messier. And then Messier goes on.
And then Messier never wins another one until the end of his career.
No, he goes on and wins one in 94 in New York.
Yeah, that was at the end of his career.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was saying. It's like he goes on to not win one again until the end of his career.
Right.
But
still
even
won
Gretzky,
2 after Gretzky.
Yeah, but even Gretzky reunited with him in New York, and they weren't able to do it.
Yeah, they're both old at that point.
Yeah, beyond old. But how many cups? I mean, how many cups do you think Edmonton can win if they keep, Gretzky, Messier? Who else do they have on that team?
Yari Curry.
Grant Fuhr was their goalie, I think.
Paul Coffey.
They ended up winning 4.
Yeah.
Do they go,
and there's not
full Montreal Canadiens and just start,
There's not another dynasty that kind of takes their place because it really was like Montreal Canadiens, you have the Islanders, and then the Oilers end the Islanders dynasty, and they have their own, and then there's no team that really picks up that torch after that because the Oilers win in 90, and from then on in the 90s it was like a lot of different teams. Well, you've got the Penguins
champs, except for the Penguins a couple of times.
The Penguins and then the Red Wings win 97, 98. You could kind of call the Red Wings because they won 3 and 6.
Yeah.
But or 4 and whatever it is, 4 and 8 or 7 or something like that. I forget how many years it was. From 97 to the 2008 Cup. But yeah, you have room there. Like Edmonton, it wasn't like there were other teams like chomping at the bit to take down Edmonton. Like, if they keep Gretzky and Messier and everybody, they keep that band together, they probably have another like 3 or 4 cups in them together, I would think. At least into like into the Pittsburgh, like Mario Lemieux, Yager are together.
Yeah.
That kind of era. And Gretzky and Messier are kind of on the downs, part of their career. Because Gretzky got to the finals in 93 with LA.
Yeah.
But that was really the last push from him in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think maybe 3 or 4 more would be what Edmonton could have handled. But you also get into around that time the expansion and relocation and all that.
Very true.
So you've got what was it? Minnesota moved to Dallas around that time.
Early 90s.
Early
92,
90s.
I think.
You get the Disney Mighty Ducks.
Tampa.
Trying to think who else. Florida
Florida
was
96.
Florida was 96.
A
little bit later, but still, right around that.
Phoenix.
That 5, 6, 7 year time, you've got the league's expanding. The league is having teams relocate. The Nordiques moved to Colorado. The competitive balance, I think, shifted as well.
And my question with that is, because there's always kind of this, thought process that Gretzky going to LA opened up hockey for the Sun Belt, like opened up the South in North America, we're forgetting Mexico, but the South in between the United States and Canada and
we've lost another country.
Yeah, exactly. There goes Mexico. All our Mexican listeners, sorry. So it's like, does the thought process always that he opened up the Sun Belt for hockey in general, and those markets owe their success and their ability to, start and keep and maintain franchises and fan bases because of Gretzky going to LA and putting LA like on the map, whatever. So how much of an effect does Gretzky going to LA have on the league's expansion to, Dallas, Tampa, Phoenix, Florida, wherever else? I'm trying to think other Sunbelt teams.
I think that might be part of that equation, but you also have to look at population shift in America. Demographic shift in America. The reason that the southern cities, those Sunbelt teams, have kind of gained expansion franchises into different sports and they've gotten bigger, become bigger markets is because people are moving there. Excuse me. So, Houston, I think, is the 5th largest media market in the United States. Atlanta's pretty high up there. Dallas is pretty high up there. These teams, I think, would have eventually come around just because of there being the population to support the team. There's a reason that they're not building. They're not giving NHL expansion franchise to Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Does Oklahoma City have the population to support it? I don't know. I mean, they're pretty behind the Thunder, but would they come out and watch hockey the same way they've embraced basketball?
It's interesting too, because basketball tends to thrive in small markets like that.
Yeah.
Like you look at
And then
Portland.
Like that's what I was
Oklahoma
just going to say.
City,
Is Portland, would an NHL franchise work in Portland? I feel like there's the population isn't there. It's a smaller market. NHL, which is weird because the NHL tends to also do fairly well in smaller markets. As far as like local fan bases go. I know here in Columbus, they will somehow sell out Nationwide Arena for most of the games. They have a huge following, but some of that too is like what you were talking about with the Leafs in our last segment with, the corporatization of it, so it's a lot, it's, maybe there's a lot of people there, but a lot of them are, local business leaders and, up and coming
nationwide
professionals
buys, like,
or nationwide
500
buys.
tickets and gives them out.
But I think, as people move, because Phoenix, when the Jets moved there, Winnipeg moved there, Phoenix was becoming one of the largest markets in the United States.
Right.
Population wise, media market wise. And so, and that's why they chose that location. The same thing when the Stars left Minneapolis and went to Dallas, they chose it because they were looking for basically a market that was wide open. And that was going to be able to financially support them. And basically Dallas fit all of their criteria.
Right.
So I think Sunbelt hockey happens whether Gretzky goes to LA or not. Do I, as a fan, go to games as much? I mean, you got the greatest player in the history of the sport coming into town. That's certainly a reason to buy a ticket.
True.
But a lot of these teams moved an existing franchise down to a southern city.
True.
And so which was like basically here, you got a team, Phoenix. You don't know any of these guys. You have no connection to this club at all, this franchise at all. You're going to rename them a desert-themed name, and they're your team now. And then we wondered why they didn't work out so well.
Yeah.
They even had Gretzky as an executive.
And a coach.
For
a Phoenix, little bit there.
For a little bit, and they couldn't figure that out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think those teams would have eventually come around. Do I think the draw would have been there, ticket sales would have been there? Probably not as much if you didn't know that you were going to get to see this guy come in at least once a year.
Yeah.
But I mean, even the Thrashers, they ended up having to move to Winnipeg.
Right. Circle of life.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I think all those cities would get a team eventually. The only one I'm completely baffled by is the Panthers. It just seemed like forced. Like, here, you're gonna have a hockey team.
Yeah.
Somehow they made it work. It's
Yeah.
just weird. Like, I just can't wrap my mind around like Miami Beach, Sunrise, Florida.
Yeah.
Like that's not a hockey market to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we talked about last week with the immersion factor.
Yeah. I remember even less than 10 years ago too, they were trying to like it was like they were really struggling to get fans in the building in Florida. It was like 8,000 or so per game were coming. Like that's really bad attendance.
Yeah.
And you can't support a team on that. You can't support a business on that. Yeah, super interesting. Wayne Gretzky's coaching record, by the way, 4 seasons with Phoenix. I didn't realize he coached that long.
I didn't either. I thought it was only like 2.
He won 38 games twice. Was over 500 points percentage one time. That was in his 3rd season in 08. And yeah, career coaching points percentage 0.473. So the great one as a player, not as a coach, I guess.
Not as a coach.
Pretty bad.
Well, how much of that was the guys he had to work with too as a coach? I mean,
one of the things I was looking up was, and I'm bringing up again, was the Edmonton Oilers season success from, because obviously we mentioned like how they did after he left. They win another Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
But then they make it to the conference finals. And that's 91-92. And then they go 4 straight years of out of the playoffs. They make it to the semifinals. They lose. They make it to the semifinals. This is really funny, actually. From 98 until the lockout in 04, they either don't qualify for the playoffs, which is twice, or they lose to the Stars. So they lost to the Stars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a span of 7 years.
And the Stars went on to win a cup one of those years.
In 99. Yeah, in 99.
Yeah. Mike Modano and
the skate in the crease.
Yeah.
So yeah, really funny. And then they come out of the lockout. They're like the 8th seed or the 7th seed, I think. And the Red Wings, I'm trying to think. The Red Wings, no, they must have been the 8th seed because the Red Wings won the President's Trophy again that year in 06. And they beat the Red Wings in the first round and make it all the way to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals and lose to the Hurricanes. And then so they come out of the lockout. So it's like 7 years of either they lose the Stars or they don't qualify for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
There's the lockout. First season back, they make the Stanley Cup Finals, make it to Game 7 as an 8th seed, and then they don't qualify for the playoffs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight years, and we are in the Connor McDavid era.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. And what's really interesting is like you have the bar none greatest player of all time, and you make a trade. You need to set your franchise up for generational success. Like you're trading him at the prime of his career too. Like he was not washed up. It was not like he was like kind of starting to trail off or whatever. I mean, he kind of was, but it's Gretzky numbers. Like he's still leading the league in points and assists and everything for a very long time after he's traded. You need to get like a haul back.
Yeah. They still were more successful than the Kings out of that trade.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, which is interesting, they didn't get a whole lot for him, but they still ended up coming out the better team out of that.
They won a cup.
They won a cup. The Kings ended up, won finals in all those years. Yeah. I don't know if I want to bring it up or if you want to bring it up, but
All right.
let's just breach the subject.
So at the very beginning of the episode here, I said the great once, which is what Canadians have started calling for a lot longer than I've realized, have called Gretzky, because his nickname is the Great One, if you're not aware.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the show, I assume you understand what Gretzky's nickname is. But a lot of people have started calling him the Great Once. And I didn't know the extent of this until very recently. But apparently he's very he has some questionable politics, let's just say. So my question, I guess I'll preface my sort of, a little bit of this with the question of if he stays in Edmonton and he's not traded to LA, does Gretzky still go full MAGA? Does he still jump on the Trump train and go full on sitting in the press box with Kash Patel, like, red hat MAGA?
I have to pull up the issue.
Okay. This is Cigar Aficionado,
Cigar Aficionado, the April issue of Cigar Aficionado. And this comes up. David Savannah, who's the editor of Cigar Aficionado, asks Gretzky.
I can't imagine this is a very liberal readership of Cigar Aficionado. I'm trying to like figure this out. Is it what do you think the politics lies in the readership of Cigar Aficionado?
I could tell you where the politics lies, because they did a presidential poll, and you can imagine who their readership picked.
What was the percentage? What was the percentage?
It was. I want to say it was close to like 55-60%.
Okay. That's not as bad as I thought. Not as bad as I thought.
It's worse than it should be. Like, cigars are for everybody. Like, it's like AR. I mean, I guess, like, as a gun owner, should I be really shocked when I read a gun magazine and they're like, yeah, you got to vote for Trump. Go MAGA. Pew, pew, pew. Anyway. So this is the question. You were in the news when President Trump talked about having you get involved in Canadian politics. Any plans? Gretzky's answer. Everybody who knows me knows I have no interest in politics. And over the years, I have been so fortunate. I have met all the prime ministers back to Pierre Trudeau in 1980. Janet and I were fortunate enough to meet President Reagan. Yeah, I have a lot of friends who were either prime ministers or presidents, and those guys are way smarter than I am. I'm a hockey guy, and that's my love and passion. I just hope for everyone's sake, everyone gets along.
Okay.
Not really into politics?
Then why with the MAGA hats, and why with the hanging out with Trump lackeys? Like, that's where I'm kind of like, okay, this sounds very like, why can't we just agree to disagree after you just spouted the most racist, transphobic bullshit? You know what I mean? Like those people that are like, they spout some, crazy shit, and then they're like, why can't we just all agree to disagree? Like, or because you're being a fucking dumbass. That's why
they're just just asking questions. But
or those people, that ask, probing questions.
I'm just asking questions, But in the same interview, he talks about his buddy Kid Rock. I'm like, what the?
If we could disown one person as a city of Detroit, I think all of Detroit, like, it would be a stronger vote than that Cigar Aficionado presidential poll. to just be like, no, Kid Rock, you're like, nah, you claim somewhere else, buddy. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting because I kind of started to wonder, like, I loved Gretzky, like, and I know you did. You, this is how old we are. You taped his final game on VHS. You taped his final game in '99. I remember that specifically.
Yeah.
Because I remember having gone back and watched that videotape, actually.
Yeah.
Yager scores the game-winning goal in overtime, by the way.
It'd be interesting to see if we still have that tape somewhere, but I doubt it.
I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it's like even still. It would probably has degraded.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because this is not like necessarily a recent development. It makes me wonder how long this has kind of been a thing. Because in 2009, he was awarded whatever, civilian honor in Canada, like the highest civilian honor, like Order of Canada or whatever it is. And I don't mean to be so dismissive about that, but I just don't know the specific name of it. So sorry to all the Canadian listeners that I didn't get this right, or I said, or whatever. But he never bothered to go pick it up. He never bothered to go to whatever ceremony he was awarded this thing.
Really?
And he still has not. He still hasn't gone to like accept this honor.
Is it
the greatest civilian honor?
Is it like a humility thing? Like he doesn't, he doesn't think he deserves it? Has he made a statement about it? I
highly doubt that's the thing. Like he's the kind of guy that shows up for the things. You know what I mean? Like he's showing up for the ceremonies. He's showing up for like the greatest 100 players when the NHL did their centennial thing.
Yeah.
Like he's not the kind of person to shy away from like recognizing, like he's got the, and this is part of why I loved Gretzky. It's a very, complicated time now. Because he does seem so humble. It's so fun to hear his stories about, he obviously very much just loves hockey. Like your quote from Cigar Aficionado, it's like, he really does sound like the kind of guy that's just like, I just want to play hockey. Like, I was lucky enough to be here. I was, I just had the talent and the skill and the mindset of this. And I was just lucky enough to be blessed with these skills. This is what I was good at, sort of thing. But he doesn't strike me as the person that's going to like miss out on an honor like that.
I don't know, but he doesn't strike me as like the super arrogant dickhead who doesn't show up to get an award either. I mean, in the interview, he talks about how when he was a player, he used to actually like in Edmonton, he like recognized people like season ticket holders. So he would like know when they were out of town or whatever, because their seats would be filled by somebody else. So like he was paying attention on the bench. He was paying attention to like who's in the crowd. So,
and this is where I struggle because he genuinely seems like such a nice person. Like he even like on the TNT broadcast and stuff, he's willing to just kind of cut up and make fun of himself. Give, kind of like give back the jibes and stuff like that. Like, but it's like, how do you reckon this with like him handing out red hats that say "Be great"? You know what I'm saying? Like, read the room at least. And it's like, it makes it, when all this stuff started coming out, it's like, okay, a disingenuous read of the situation is, oh yeah, Gretzky's like out there, shadow campaigning for Trump. He's like in these red states, he's going to Dallas and going to the conservative parts of Dallas when he's going to Stars games. And he's, leading these rallies that we don't know about in favor of Trump or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
The generous analysis of this is like, maybe he's just such a nice guy that he can't turn down an invitation. And like, so he just happens to be in a room with Kash Patel and Donald Trump. And they're like, hey, here's a free hat. And he's like, oh man, thanks for the free hat. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're great. You were the great one. We want to make America great again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a little bit of that. And he's just too stupid to be like, oh, I don't really see all of the other craziness that's a part of this. And like, I'm the great one. So yeah, I'll wear a make America Great Again hat.
He specifically calls out meeting Reagan.
I laughed at that.
I mean, that kind of tells you that kind of tells you a lot about what you need to know. You know, like Reaganomics has been destroying America since the 1980s. You know, it's the reason that most people my age will never own a home or haven't owned a home. You know, it's the reason for the corporate welfare and corporate greed. It's the reason for the whole MAGA movement. Actually, Reagan was one of the first to say, "Make America Great Again."
Yeah.
So that's kind of telling, you know, that's who Wayne Gretzky remembers meeting out of all the presidents and prime ministers. You know, the one who single-handedly destroyed the American dream,
right,
is on his list.
Top of mind.
I think some of that is obviously, I mean, he got his. Like, there's a lot of that, I think, in politics in general. You know, you see, you know, the immigrants for Trump, like, they immigrated here, they got naturalized, they got theirs. Like, fuck the rest of you. And it's like, okay, but what if, you know, the guy before you had that attitude, you know, then you wouldn't have been able to come. You know, what if there's too much, like, I got mine going on in politics, and I think maybe, you know, maybe that's Gretzky's problem. You know, he got his. He, you know, he's one of the 1%. What does he care? If
I also think,
you know,
just by nature of having ascended to that, you know, economic position and celebrity position, you're in different rooms. And so you're not hearing the same conversations you were hearing in, you know, Brantford, Ontario, like, or in Edmonton, Alberta. Like, you're hearing different conversations. You're going to different parties. You're around the multimillionaires, the billionaires who have a vested interest in Reaganomics, who have a vested interest in MAGA, like, and so you sort of just assimilate. Like, there's a cultural assimilation to that, and whether you're conscious of that process over 40 years or not, like, it's happened. The biggest part to me that just drives me nuts is like I'm not political. Then why are you fucking hanging out with these guys? If you're not political, why are you wearing the hat of this candidate that has so much stigma attached to it? Like, or are you just so dumb that you don't know?
Yeah,
There's no way.
When I read that the first time I read that, I was like, wait, what? You're not political. You don't want to be political. Like, dude, you literally campaigned for the guy. You were like, everybody get a red hat. We're going MAGA. And now you're trying to, like, I think some of it, that answer is like he realized he got blowback. You know, he realizes that he's being called out on it, and he wants to try to save a little face. But it's like, dude, the damage is done. You know, you made your bed. You know, the only way you're going to recover from that is to, like, full on apologize. It was interesting though. I noticed you talked about the TNT broadcast. He didn't seem to be around this year.
Yeah, not as much. He was not on as many broadcasts.
I remember, like, last year it seemed like he was not, or the last time TNT had the Stanley Cup Finals. I feel like he was on, like, every game.
Yeah. And
then this year I'm like, I don't remember seeing him a whole lot in the playoffs. So I wonder if that had something to do with it as well. It's like,
yeah, who knows?
You know, the network is just like, not sure if we really want to.
I don't know the politics of the Turner.
Oh, I'm sure Ted Turner would have, you know, been pro-Trump, pro-MAGA, pro.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure on that. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess that kind of brings. We're doing reset the clock on if Gretzky stays in Edmonton, you know, instead of going to LA. But it kind of leads into, like, athletes and politics. Like, should we care? Should we care? Two, does it, do we separate? Can we separate the person and the play from the politics? Like, can you still cheer for a player if you know that they have this political alignment? I know what my answer is.
I think it's hard, like now, in the polarized, like you're either with us or against us type of scene, to look at an athlete and be like, well, he hates everything I embrace, or he is the opposite of me. And so who cares that he's on my team, and who cares that he's scoring, whatever, he's leading the team in scoring, or he's helping us win games. I think it's hard. That I'm not one of those shut up and play kind of people.
Oh gosh.
Like I know there's a lot of, shut up and play, you're an athlete, you don't have an opinion. Like, but at the same time, like, it's hard for them no matter which way they go, because they, if I'm an athlete in Oklahoma, like pick a Thunder player.
Sure.
Am I going to express my political views as openly and vocally as if I were playing in LA?
Right.
Or
New York.
Or New York. Or if I'm in Atlanta, even though Atlanta itself is very blue and tends more liberal, but the state around me, which is where a lot of my fan base comes from,
right?
Am I going to be as outspoken as if I'm playing in Seattle?
Right.
I think that I think it's important for all of us, no matter what our position is, to have an opinion and make that opinion known, and stand up for it. And we live in a time where any two idiots with microphones and computers can have a podcast and share their views.
Exactly. That's damn right.
So, but I think that we have got to get past the point where we sit here and say, well, he's this or that, so I can't like him as an athlete anymore, or I can't like her as an athlete anymore, or I can't like his movies anymore. I can't read his books anymore. I think reading things through that critical lens, though, of understanding why it's more with the arts, with media, is looking at it from their perspective and being able to see, okay, I don't agree with this.
Sure.
But how can I see how they got there? And can I see a way to say, okay, you're completely wrong in my opinion. I see how you got there. This is how I got to where I am. Can you understand how I got to where,
right.
I think you've got two sides that are so entrenched and don't want to acknowledge that the other side could have valid talking points.
Well,
and that we want to throw everything, like, oh, well, now I can't, we'll get into this in a later episode, but like, I hate Alexander Ovechkin, like,
right.
for personal reasons. Like,
And he's another one. It's
I've heard he's just a dick in general. He seems like a dick. He plays like a dick. I can't stand the guy. Do I have to recognize that he's the all-time leading goal scorer? Yep, unfortunately. I mean, numbers don't lie. Record books don't.
Right.
It's the same way with Trump. Like, I mean, he's a total dickbag. But is he the president? Yeah. Was he lawfully elected?
This time, yes.
Yeah, this time,
according to the current constitution.
But
it is. Yeah. No, I see your point on like seeing the other side, seeing the other perspective and stuff. I do think is important. I think your point about like, oh, it's, we've kind of like maybe gone too far with like, I'm not going to pay attention to this person. I'm not going to buy this person's books. I'm not going to watch this person's movies. It does get hard in those situations because one, there's a lot of other people that are part of those things. So like the biggest thing in the last several years is J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Massive fan base. I know you were a big Harry Potter fan. I don't know if you still are. But
not as big, but not for that reason.
Right. But it's like, I have a big problem supporting somebody who espouses such disgusting views in the way that she does. Like I'm willing to hear somebody out if they approach something generously and with kindness and humility. I am not willing to hear somebody out when they approach it from, I'm right, you're wrong, all of you are assholes, and I'm going to sue anybody that says any word against me. And I think it's the other piece with this is that we're not talking about, do we feel like, we're not talking about like a player's position on tax rates. You know what I mean? We're not talking about fundamental discussion about how to structure our economy. I mean, we are talking about that, but we're also talking about like who gets respected as and dignified as human.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that, the MAGA movement has so readily and loudly espoused views that denigrate the human just nature of so many different groups of people, unless you look like me. And I have no time for anybody who supports that. I have no patience for anybody who supports that because it is so clearly and plainly obvious at this point that this person just fucking hates people who don't look like him, or at least loves power so much that he's willing to let the people around him who hate people who don't look like him set up all of these kinds of, policies and procedures and things that they're doing. Like, it's too plainly obvious that we're not talking about like how we feel on certain political issues where we're pretty close, but we're a little bit different and we can kind of figure out and compromise. We're not at that point anymore.
No,
we're at a point where we literally are talking about like the respect of humanity. Do we respect like that every human being has certain, inalienable rights? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're at that point. And when you jump on the train and put on the red hat, you're a part of that movement. I have a lot less problem with somebody who votes for Trump than somebody who puts a Trump sign in their yard. I can abide a little bit. I can understand, like you're saying, taking perspectives and stuff. I can understand people who, especially in 2016, are voting. They've got this choice between two people that they can legitimately see as not great choices, and they choose one way or the other. they make a difficult decision. They still want to make a vote, whatever. I think they're wrong. It's different than putting on a red hat and going and chanting like, you know, they will not replace us. Like, you know, this kind of like white power type of crazy bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's been so long and it's been so obvious that that is the movement, that if you're wearing the hat, you're part of that. Like, I'm sorry, you may not want to be political, but fuck you, you made the choice. Like, you can take off the hat and try to be as apolitical as possible, but you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm fine with people who are, you know, fiscally conservative and want to, you know, the deficit, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's fine, whatever. Oh, let's, you know, whatever. But when you come down to like human rights, it's not a question anymore. That's not a political question. That's a human versus like, you're just fucking evil question.
Yeah. And I mean, is that why he embraced the movement? I don't know.
No, and I'm not making that claim. I'm definitely not going to make that claim.
I think the populism movement that came out of Trumpism, you know, that may have appealed to Gretzky a little bit because he grew up an everyman. You know, he grew up middle class, and you know, Trump's messaging was that that's the forgotten, you know, group of people, right. And you know, we're going to help them out, even though they're not. You know, so maybe that, you know, was part of that appeal. I don't know. I don't know why you would associate yourself with a movement. You know, I'm kind of with you on, you know, if you wear a red hat, you know, you've totally just given me a reason to know that you're not you're not somebody I want to associate with. But even the people who vote for him, you know, there's a lot of people who voted for him that it is about all of the things that he says and does. It is about that, all that. Oh, yeah. You know, for sure. They just don't have the balls to put the hat on and show it in public. Yeah. You know, and I think that's what ended up with a lot of the movement in general, was that it's like, and part of why he lost in 2020 was because a lot of people realized, like, oh, this is not about, you know, all of us. This is about a certain group of us. Right. You know, and then in 2024, this past election, you had a lot. I think the real reason he won in 2024 has more to do with people who didn't vote than that he got votes. I agree with that. You know, there were more people who decided for some stupid reason to sit this one out. And it may be the last time they would have ever had a chance to vote. I mean, the way things are going. Yeah. You know, so can I support an athlete who helped bring about the authoritarian demise of my country? Your answer. What is your answer going to be? That better be rhetorical. Is this a real debate? No. Hell no. Hell no, because this is, I mean, this goes against the Constitution. Says that we have. But I'm just a hockey guy. Yeah. The Constitution. But the real problem with the MAGA movement and with right-wing politics in general is that instead of looking at the Constitution as saying that it's there to ensure domestic tranquility and to promote life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it's like, but they want to determine what the pursuit of happiness looks like for everyone. And it's based on what their archaic book that was put together by people who had ideas about what the pursuit of happiness involved. You know, you're your happiness is not my happiness.
Right.
And that's okay. So no, I can't like, if Gretzky comes to town and is having an autograph signing session, I'm not going.
Right.
You know, I mean, I might go with a sign that says "fuck you." You know,
the great
once, the great once, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not. Same thing. If Reggie Miller tomorrow, all-time great pacer Reggie Miller comes out and says, something denigrating towards, LGBTQ community, just be like, dude, no, you can't say shit like that. Like we can't do that.
Right. And we're not saying that Reggie Miller did say.
I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying,
I was going to say, I don't know Reggie Miller's politics. No, like, I'd be very surprised.
This is a comparison. I mean, this is a comparison. Like for me, one of the greatest athletes, I admired growing up watching was Reggie Miller. Charles Barkley. He said some really stupid, weird stuff, but at least his main message is do whatever you want. Like.
Well, and there's a difference between like saying stupid stuff, like we're going to say a bunch of stupid stuff on this podcast.
Oh yeah.
And living and supporting, like putting your whole ass behind something. Like, I might say something that doesn't come across the way I intended, or I might say something that like I later think about and go, oh, hold up, that didn't, I don't actually think that way, or I don't actually believe that. Or I did believe that and I've changed my mind, or, some new information has come up and I've developed and I've seen the error of my ways, whatever, versus like, no, yeah, I want a million people deported like every day, whatever, what I'm saying? So, well, interesting. So if Gretzky stays in Edmonton, maybe Hillary Clinton's our dictator instead of Donald Trump,
Maybe he doesn't become buddies with Kid Rock and he doesn't go Paul Madden.